Aloha, One Love family. Jason here for your weekly Devo. I hope you are having a great week. I got my trusty little favorite coffee mug here with you, so it's going to be joining us today. Today we're going to be talking out of Daniel chapters 1 through 4. Don't worry, we're not going to read all of it. If you want to review it, go right ahead. But we're just going to do a quick little overview, just a quick synopsis. Thank you.
Okay,
and no, we're gonna keep that.
Oh, keep it?
Yeah, we gotta keep it. It's gonna be fun. Okay, but anyway, here we go. 1 through 4. Okay, so in Daniel chapter 1, we got King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon besieged Jerusalem. And then he ordered one of the chief officials to choose some men that were youths, good-looking, intelligent, endowed and with understanding and discerning knowledge and an ability to serve the king's court. So that one of the king's officials chose Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And he changed their names to Belshazzar, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So in chapter 2, King Nebuchadnezzar had a troubling dream, and he called the magicians, the conjurers, the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans to interpret the dream. But the king would not say what the dream was about. And all of them said, there's nobody here on earth that can ever interpret a dream that you haven't told us. And so the king got furious and gave orders to destroy all the wise men. But Daniel got wind that he was supposed to be destroyed along with all the wise men, and because of the dream that nobody can interpret. So Daniel asked for time. He went to the king and he asked for time to see if he might declare the interpretation of the dream. So Daniel went to his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and he asked them, seek out God and see if he'll reveal the dream to us. So God revealed the dream to Daniel and its interpretation. And in Daniel chapter 7, verse 47, the king answered Daniel and said, surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and the revealer of mysteries. Since you have been able to reveal this mystery, also take note, the king acknowledges God, but he doesn't turn his eyes towards God. So now we're in chapter 3. And then in chapter 3, the king makes a golden image of himself. And he wants the people to worship him, as when they hear all the wonderful sounds of the instruments going around. And if they were not going to bow down, they'd be thrown into a fiery furnace. So in Daniel chapter 3, 16 through 18, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to give you an answer concerning this matter. If it's so, our God we serve is able to deliver us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But even if he does not, let it be known to you, O king, that we are not going to serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are not going to bow down to this golden image. And so the king gets furious, and he orders the fiery furnace to be hotter, 7 times hotter than it's normal. And so the king throws Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the fiery furnace. And then in chapters 3, 24 through 26, King Nebuchadnezzar was astounded and stood up in haste. And he said to his high officials, wasn't there 3 men cast bound into the midst of the fire? They replied to the king, certainly, O king. He said, look, I see 4 men loosened and walking around in the midst of the fire without harm, and the appearance of the 4th is like the Son of God's. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the door of the furnace of the blazing fire, and he responded and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, come out here, you're servants of the Most High God, come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out in the midst of the fire. Now, I don't know what that would be, but I would like to turn my eyes towards God. But still, King Nebuchadnezzar acknowledges God, but he doesn't turn his eyes towards God. And now, in chapter 4, Don't worry, I'm getting to the point here. King Nebuchadnezzar had a vision, and Daniel interprets it for him. Basically, in a nutshell, Daniel says, hey, you're mighty, talking to King Nebuchadnezzar, you're mighty. God is going to take it all away from you, and you're going to be driven away from all mankind and dwell with the beasts of the field, and you will eat grass, and your mind will be lost for 7 periods of time until you recognize that God is ruler of all. So the vision is fulfilled, and at the end of the 7 periods of the time, King Nebuchadnezzar in chapter 3, 34 through 36, says, he raised his eyes towards heaven, and his reason returned to him. He blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever. For his dominion is everlasting dominion, and his kingdom endures for generation and generation. All the inhabitants of the earth accounted as nothing, but he does according to his will in the host of heaven and among the inhabitants of earth. And no one can ward off his hand or say to him, what have you done? At this time, my reason returned to me, and the majesty, splendor were restored to me, and the glory of the kingdom. And my counselors and my nobles began seeking out, as I was reestablished in my sovereignty, and surpassed greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, honor the King of heaven, for all of his works are true and his ways just, and is able to humble those who walk in pride. Need to take a little break of water here. We're talking a little bit today, but anyway. Now, finally, King Nebuchadnezzar turns his eyes towards God. You see, God does great things in our lives. And are we proclaiming it? Are we proclaiming it in his word? And he also does great things in other people's lives and even in your life. The question is around here is, are we proclaiming Christ? Are we telling lost people about what God is doing in our lives and what he has done in his word? You see, people may acknowledge God, but they do not turn their life around to repent and serve God. But there is possibly a day where their eyes will be open and they will repent and turn their lives around. Then they will look back and say, wow, now I see the great majesty of what God is doing and has done. I'm sure this has happened to you in your life before you were saved, that you can now look back and you're just like, wow, I can see God's hand. I can see how God worked his majesty in my life. And that changed your life drastically, and you're able to look forward to this day, and you just don't look back. You're just still given honor, praise, and glory. In Romans 1:19 through 20 says that ever since the creation of the world, God has made the knowledge of himself evident to all people, though they know the truth about God, because he has made it obvious to them. For ever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky. Through everything God made, they can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, so that you have no excuse for not knowing God. So I just want to bring you an encouragement. Continue to proclaim Christ in those lives that you're trying to minister to that are lost. Be bold, be confident in what God has given you. So I hope that was a blessing for you today. Aloha and God bless.